And so one thing I want to let you know, it's never too late to develop a secure relationship. What we believe is in your adult state, you can go back and make sense of your early childhood. You can make sense of the attachment styles. I want to talk about attachment patterns. Now, a lot of times attachment patterns can be used as just something you throw out at somebody, like you have an insecure attachment or you don't know how to attach or how to bond. There's all types of just theory. There's all types of different ways of looking at attachment. I'm going to simplify it as well as I can to just a couple of different attachment styles that I see quite a bit in the therapy office. And I want to talk about a way to move toward a secure attachment. All of the attachment theories out there seem to come back to there is such a thing as secure attachment. If you think through the lens of a secure attachment is something that you develop in early childhood. In fact, many people agree with the old Freudian adage that by 6 years old, we've really developed a sense of self, a sense of personality. We've developed the patterns and the defense mechanisms for who we're going to be for the rest of our lives. Now, many of us believe that it goes beyond what Freud thought. It goes into well into adulthood, and we have different attachments, different attachment styles, different relationship attachments, and then we have developmental stages throughout our life that if we go back and repair damage done, we can actually change our attachment style, or we can change our personality somewhat and really move our lives forward in a healthier, happier way. I tend to hold to that theory. I believe that because we are here on earth to become better and we will progress eternally, I think that there's a way that we can change ourselves so that as we progress eternally, we're not always playing games or miserable or insecure, ambivalent about our securities. I believe there's a chance to understand ourselves, and then from that place of understanding ourselves, grow. And so let's talk about different attachments. Secure attachment is you see the relationship that you're in as a home base, and then you explore the world. So you and your partner love each other, you know each other, you've built love maps, you've built rapport, you've built trust. And given that level of trust and connection, you're able to go away from each other and then return and report to each other your journey and your travels. Now, you do lots of stuff together, don't get me wrong, but the idea of a securely attached person doesn't require the other person in the relationship to complete them or to meet their needs exactly. It doesn't mean we don't want them to meet our needs. It doesn't mean that they don't want to meet our needs. It's just super nice when they do. It's not like we're draining them because we have these anxious needs. In a securely attached relationship where both partners have this security, have this sense of connection, they can move towards each other and get really close and connected, but they can also be away from each other and still feel the love that emanates inside the relationship. So secure attachment is the ideal. It's what we're all shooting for. It's what we spend a lot of our time in therapy trying to learn how to do. Now, a lot of people come into therapy after having trauma as children, and these traumas create attachment breaches. They create attachment fears or attachment styles that little children learn to defend themselves against some of the early caregiving stuff. Now, whether it be in the first 2 years of life or in the first 6 years of life, somewhere in there, many theories talk through this lens of like in the womb, clear to about the second birthday, a child, an infant, learns how to get needs met, learns what happens if needs don't get met. They develop strategies to cope with caregivers and then solidify those over the years after that. And so imagine as a little child feeling neglected and not having language or voice, really to talk about it because they're infants. They just learn to feel them and act them out. And so we're looking first at this anxious, preoccupied attachment. Adults that have learned to have an anxious attachment, they generally had early childhood traumas. Just a quick note, there's capital T and small t traumas. A capital T trauma is severe abuse and neglect. Capital T trauma could be a molestation. It could be super, super angry, abusive parents. A small t could be parents were preoccupied. Parents had a lot going on. Maybe were dismissive and didn't attend to the child as much. Didn't attend to the feelings, and they maybe had so much other stuff going on, maybe trauma in the relationship, like a child that grew up in the years that a couple was trying to repair betrayal trauma could pick up some anxious and preoccupied attachment. The idea about an anxious preoccupied attachment that comes from some kinds of trauma is they create this fantasy bond. I'm going to call it a fantasy bond because they want to bond with their lover and be healthy in the marriage, but they really bond with someone that they need to rescue them. They bond with someone that has certain things that they need, and they kind of take a lot. They have this emotional hunger all the time. And when the partner ventures off away from an anxious, preoccupied person, all they can think about is, are they loyal? Are they faithful? Are they there for me? Or do they have my back? And they literally won't let the person venture out and then come back and report. They come back to this, maybe this fear that's turned into anger. They come back to this fear that's turned into punishing them somehow for not being always readily available. So an anxious, preoccupied partner is going to hold super tight. They're going to hold super tight to you. They're going to really not want you to venture away from them. They want to be in your vicinity all the time. They cling to you. They take actions to kind of make you feel guilty if you drift away. But then another funny thing happens with anxious, preoccupied attachment persons is they also keep someone out. They don't tell them all the truth. They don't tell them everything that's going on in their life. And so if I'm the anxious, preoccupied person in the relationship, I'm going to want my spouse to be always in my midst, meeting my needs, telling me I'm okay, building me up. But I'm also going to keep secrets. I'm going to keep them just a little bit out of all of me. I'm not going to totally disclose who I am all the time. I might have addictions that I hide from my spouse. I might have things that go on in my day that I'm not willing to disclose to my spouse, but I expect my spouse to disclose everything to me. I'm going to hold back from giving compliments all the time, but I'm going to require compliments given to me. So the anxious, preoccupied person will cling on to a person that they can pull in, but then keep out, if that makes any sense. And you probably have seen this in different relationships that you've had. You've probably seen this play out just a little bit. And so the idea of an anxious, preoccupied person is you can feel a little bit drained by them. You can feel like you're very much needed, but you don't quite always know who they are. Now, hold that one up as a possibility of just kind of consider your way of being with your spouse. How are you on the scale of needing them but not wanting them to know you completely? Then we move to maybe what we could call the dismissive avoidant attachment. These tend to be pretty emotionally distant from their partner. They don't want to bring the partner in too much because they don't want to get hurt. They create this, what I call a fake independence. So they act very independent. This person wants you to think they don't need anything from anyone, that they're pretty self-contained. But they're actually not. They deny the importance of a loved one, but they seek someone to feed their ego. They seek someone to constantly try to find them and push their way in. In fact, they are so focused on themselves and their comfort that they basically demand people that are in relationship with them to meet their emotional needs. They demand it. They find people that are good at serving, and then they let them serve them. They let them bring them breakfast. They let them serve them intimately, but they never really stop and think, what would be nice for my lover? What would I want to do for my lover that would surprise them, that would like they would see me as thinking outside of the box and considering their feelings. See, the dismissive avoidant attachment style never really considers with strong empathy the needs of the other person in the relationship. In fact, they're so certain that the other person in the relationship gets all of their needs met by serving them that it comes off as selfish. Now remember, it's not really selfish. It's fear-based. It's, I need someone to feed me and to serve me and tell me I'm okay, but I also need them to see me as independent and not needing that. And so they live this constant game of pulling in and then keeping out, pulling in, and then, so they'll pull them in, they'll receive lots of service, lots of help, lots of accolades, and then they tell the person that they don't really need all that. They love it, they like hearing it, but they can do without it. They detach pretty easily from people. They're the kind of person that writes people off relatively quickly if you harm them, or if you pull back, or if you boldly state your own needs to this person that has a dismissive, avoidant attachment style. They'll tell you boldly that you need to figure out how to get those needs met yourself, all the while needing that person to meet their needs. And it doesn't appear selfish to the person with the avoidant, dismissive attachment style. So they avoid strong connection, they dismiss strong connection, but they crave that emotional involvement. They crave it because they need people in their life to tell them they're okay. So this illusion of independence is stopping them from creating a real intimate relationship. What they do is they create a relationship with someone that's a pursuer, someone that's like a giver, and then they take, and they seem to have this fear to reciprocate. And so the reciprocating relationship escapes them. They make bold statements because they want to give back, but they make bold statements that they won't because they want their partners to be independent. They want them to figure out how to get their needs met on their own because they feel like they're good at getting their needs met on their own. What they're really good at is manipulating needs out of other people and calling it, I did that. And so they never really have this feeling of just, I can just be and I can be loved. They feel like they have to constantly earn it. They have to constantly like pull it in. They're big on saying, I want unconditional love, but they're not really good at accepting unconditional love because they themselves have so many conditions, but they crave it and they pretend that they have it, but they never really do what it takes to be in an unconditionally loving relationship. They never just relax and serve and trust that it'll come back around. They never really look outside of their own box to see what their partner needs and then extend themselves. They wait safely inside of their box, expecting their partner to hop in and then back out, hop in, then back out so that they feel safe. The fourth one out of these four that I'm going to talk about is fearful avoidant. Picture the fearful avoidant person being in this ambivalent state. They're in this ambivalent state of being super afraid of getting too close, but they don't want to be too distant from their partner. This is the person that you can't please. They'll say something like, will you go on a hike with me? And then you say, yes, I'd love to go on a hike with you. And then they never really allow a hike to be set up. You might say, let's go Saturday up to Zion Canyon and go for a hike. No, I can't Saturday. But I could tomorrow at lunch. Well, I work, the partner might say. So this fearful avoidant wants to know that you will do this for them, but they set it up to fail. They set it up to not be as fun as they really imagine because they're afraid that it won't be. Can you imagine seeing a 10 on the fun scale? 1 out of 10, 10 being completely fun, 1 being completely not fun. The person with fearful avoidant attachment can see a 10, but doesn't believe that anyone will help them get a 10, so they constantly set it up to be like a 5 or a 4 because they are so afraid of them expecting a 10 or wanting to enjoy a 10 and it failing that they won't even allow it to really progress there. They attempt to keep their feelings all contained. They try to not show how much they care, but then they bubble out It's like they love deeply, but they try to hold back on sharing that deep love by showing that they're angry with you. So the more they love you, the more they punish you because they feel like you're the one that could hurt them. They're pretty unpredictable, people with fearful avoidant. Like they avoid getting too close, but they're fearful of being too far away. And so you always feel like you're pulled in and then smacked by this person. So they generally have a lot of drama going on in their lives. They generally go towards you. Like if you're married to someone with a fearful avoidant attachment, they come to you to get their needs met, but they worry that if they get too close to you, you'll just hurt them. So they show up to get their needs met, and then they find some way to ruin it in the process. I've got clients throughout the years that will say, they really want to go on a vacation. They want to go and spend time. And this couple will get out on a vacation, and then the person that's afraid of getting hurt, the fearful avoidant, won't do anything. They'll want to stay in the hotel room. They won't want to venture out because they're so afraid of having a really, really, really good time and then it being ruined later that they just don't ever really totally engage. And so these persons are super confusing to be in a relationship with because you can tell they love you, but you also feel this constant, you're going to hurt me, so I'm going to punish you. I'm going to hurt you first. It's. I remember this cartoon with Andy Capp. I don't know if any of you have ever watched Andy Capp, but Flo and Andy are this married couple, and they're a little British couple, and they are always in trouble with each other. And there's one particular one, and I don't condone violence, but this is just part of a cartoon. So Andy's laying flat on his back, and he's got little stars and butterflies. You can tell he's been knocked out. And the policeman there with his little billy club's talking to Flo, the wife, and he said, "Let me get this straight, ma'am. You thought he was going to hit you, so you hit him back first." And she goes, "Yeah." Made perfect sense because Flo had a fearful avoidant attachment. And so what they'll do in a fearful avoidant attachment is they're pretty sure you're going to hurt them. And so they constantly hurt you, not enough that you'll leave them, but enough that you have to always try to prove you're not going to hurt them. Okay, and so you can see the different ways that these attachment styles can really affect relationships. And so one thing I want to let you know, it's never too late to develop a secure relationship. Never too late. What we believe is in your adult state, you can go back and make sense of your early childhood. You can make sense of the attachment styles. You can get a journal and list ways that your early childhood affects you now. List ways that you can see your parents' negative behaviors or traits show up in your life today in defense mechanisms. Make a list in a journal, a list of ways you reenact your parents' negative behavior patterns. Just think about it honestly. You don't have to tell anybody. This complete secret between you and yourself. At some point, you'll share it with a therapist or your lover, and you'll learn to do things differently by getting outside of the box you've grown up in. See, what we do is we tend to do things the same over and over again. We tend to create the same characteristics and character traits, the same defense mechanisms. And we use those 3 or 4 defense mechanisms. And as humans, we're not that sophisticated. We don't have hundreds and hundreds of defense mechanisms. We have 3 or 4. And we tend to reenact those 3 or 4 defense mechanisms throughout our lives. And so my challenge to you is address those and change them if you don't like them. Address the ways that you saw your parenting, the ways that you remembered the parenting that you received, and look at how you're currently parenting and look at how you're currently doing a parent job similarly to how you were raised, because it's probably pretty similar if you haven't really sat down and addressed it. Also look at how you have created a marriage. Look at your marriage. Own it as yours. And look at what you do inside of that marriage to defend yourself, to feel secure. Also look at how you treat your lover. in a way that either pulls or pushes, or how you use them to get your needs met, or maybe are afraid to get your needs met by them. And then really take a second and decide how it would be. How would you rather have it? And so these are just a couple of steps that you can take. Now, I want you to take that same journal, and I want you to take a moment and by yourself and decide who you are. So answer the question, who am I? What is your governing purpose in life? What is that deep inside? Don't tell me the things you do. Tell me the things you are. What do you like about yourself? That's number 2. What do you like about yourself? 3, what do you value? What do you value in this life? What do you value about you? So I want you to think deep about these things. I want you to get past the defense mechanism of I don't like anything about myself and I have no value, and really dig and figure out what traits you have. See, we have a higher power that promised gifts to all of us. And we all have these gifts. These gifts are super important. They help us be powerful in this world. They help us serve. They help us be served. What do I believe in? What are my core beliefs? What are my beliefs about self, others, God? What do I believe about how this world works? What am I willing to take a stand for? What do you feel so strongly about that you are willing to take a stand? What will you not back down on? What is important? What will you hold firm on? And finally, the last question, what is your total aim, your governing purpose in life? So that first question is like more of a who am I purpose. And this one is, what is my purpose in this life? I want to be a father, a husband. I want to be a contributing member of a society, and I want to serve others. And I'm a believer in family, so I work at keeping families connected and together. That would be a statement of purpose for me. Now remember, Michael Jordan had a purpose of being the greatest basketball star ever. If he had said, I want to win 26 out of the next 30 basketball games, that's not a purpose, that's a goal. Purposes are being the greatest, or being this is who you are. So remember, don't set a goal for your governing purpose. Make your purpose your North Star, the thing that you aim for. Now, all of these questions will pull you towards defining how you do relationships. They will help you redefine the anxious attachment to becoming more secure. As you are compassionate with yourself and as you figure yourself out, as you take a solid stand on which attachment style you actually present with and get out of denial about it, and then start working towards a sense of security by valuing you, knowing your purpose, standing your ground on certain things, holding firm to what's true, and then learning to allow people to do the same. So in this process, know that your lover is going to have those same questions to answer. And so let's say my purpose is to be an incredible husband, and my wife's purpose is to be an incredible wife. We will be awesome together as we support each other in those purposes. Let's say that she wants to have this amazing career and serve others as a life coach. And let's say that I'm a marriage counselor. We can either work in different offices, work in the same office, even work in the same with the same couples together. But see, it won't be mandatory that we do any of that. It'll be something that we support each other in. See, these other attachment styles both have these neediness about everything's about serving the sphere that I need to defend myself in, while a secure attachment allows others to be different. In a secure attachment, the key is that when I am secure, I do not judge my lover. I don't tell my lover who they are based on their past. I allow my lover to tell me who she is. I allow her to define herself and then educate me as to who she is. There's no assumptions. There's never a lack of being curious. I'll never say things like, no, that's not who you are. I know who you are. See, I have to let myself work my side of the street and be who I am, but I'm also very secure in allowing my wife to be who she is and allow her to work her side of the street. And then we're connected, constantly connected and constantly curious. So work on being secure in your attachments with your spouse. Work on never assuming that you know who they are. Allow them to change any minute they want to change. Allow them to be different anytime they want to be different. Do look for patterns, look for ways to help, Point out what you see that goes wrong, but don't judge as certain that you know what's going wrong. Talk through it. Be curious. This is a way to have a more secure attachment, a way to be happier inside your relationships. And we're going to do a few more episodes on this to tighten it up. But this is the overview. I hope it made sense. And we will talk to you again. Thank you. This is Dr. Matt, your relationship fitness coach, talking about the 4 different attachment styles that show up in his office, in my office, most of the time. Thank you tons. Go ahead and subscribe and hit like, and we'll talk to you again.